C-37, an act to amend the law governing financial institutions.
Resuming debate, the honourable member for Trinity-Spadina.
Mr. Speaker, I rise before you to speak on behalf of Canada's banks. Yes, Mr. Speaker, that's right. I'm empowered to speak on their behalf. I am, in fact, their member of Parliament. Canada's major banks and most of the insurance companies all have the dazzling, beautiful towers in my riding in Trinity-Spadina. So does the Toronto Stock Exchange and the fabled intersection of King and Bay. I am their member of Parliament, so I must speak up on their behalf. Technically, they're not my citizens. They're not citizens, but don't have a vote, although they have certainly brought plenty of influence with the government over the years. They have poured untold thousands into the coffers of the Liberals and the Conservatives. None to the NDP, I must admit. None to my campaign in the last election. But I'm fair. I represent every constituent. And the banks are constituents. And if you read their annual reports and their corporate responsibility statement, they all claim to want to be good corporate citizens. So I'm here to plead on their behalf, to encourage you to help them to be good corporate citizens, to consider the Bank Act's amendment as a golden opportunity, to help the banks come to terms with their role and to help further the role of government in fostering a healthy economy and economic opportunity, prosperity and security for all Canadians, every single Canadian. That is what the banks said they want, so let's help them. Let's show them how they can do a better job and enshrine the right regulations and legislation could keep them from going astray from their ideals, Mr. Speaker. Let's ensure they're guided to make the best possible investment in Canada, not in offshore tax havens. Let's ensure we protect the sovereignty of the financial system, so important to our independence and role in the world. That would be good citizenship, Mr. Speaker. The banks have grown and prospered. Surely citizenship demands reinvestment in every geographic region, every community, every sector, and for all Canadians, regardless of income level. My colleague, the honourable member from Winnipeg North, has already pointed to the problems in many communities. They are abandoned by the big banks. They are denied fair and equal access to banking services, and this is the result of mergers. We need to protect against this and help banks fulfill the duties as corporate citizens. Bank charters provide a protective privilege, but Canadians are owed something for this privilege. Let's ensure availability and access. Banks used to pride themselves that it costs the same for services in Yellowknife than it does at King and Bay. My constituents demand it, and let's ensure that profits are fair and fairly taxed. That would help. Now let's look at credit card rates. As I said earlier, this bill is an opportunity for renewal and change in the way banks work with Canadians. Canadians, particularly lower income Canadians, are gouged daily by ridiculously high credit card interest rates. The gap between the prime lending rate and the rate most credit cards charge has never been bigger. It's time to cap the credit card interest rates to 5 points above the prime rate. 5 points is quite a lot. The prime rate, which today sits around 6%, and at the same time, the banks are charging upwards of 18 to 19% for credit card interest. It's time to reduce the interest paid on almost $44 billion in credit card debt owned by average Canadians. That's right, that's $44 billion. That's higher than Brian Mulroney's record federal deficit in 1992-1993, Mr. Speaker. I would like you to remember that. $44 billion debt carried by our average Canadians because of huge credit card interest rates. The Liberals refuse to protect consumers from these outlandishly high credit card rates, They argue that there are lower credit cards rates somewhere available. But far too often, lower income people, often with poor credit ratings, can't qualify these lower income, lower interest cards. And this is the time for this government to take real action to protect average working families from high interest rates, real action to improve our national economy by improving the disposable income of average Canadians. There is simply no justification for maintaining high credit card interest rates during this period of steady interest rates times. No justification, Mr. Speaker, at all, thus making it the need to cap credit card rates at 5% above prime a necessity today. I also want to speak about another issue. Let's look at the affordable housing and mortgage insurance, which is also part of C-37. I noticed that deep within this act are amendments to the National Housing Act, the Housing Act which legislates the Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation. The former Prime Minister, as part of his government-wide commercialization initiatives in the 1990s, steered through some amendments to the National Housing Act in 1998 that were widely opposed by affordable housing advocates and different advocates in cities. Those amendments limited the role of CMHC in working with municipalities and community-based housing providers in developing innovative new ways to create desperately needed new affordable homes, while at the same time opening the CMHC mortgage insurance business to the private sector. Mortgage insurance have been very lucrative, as Canada's housing market has been for the most part, because they are secure. Because of the Liberal era restriction on CMHC, the Housing Corporation has been generating huge surplus without being able to spend those on new affordable homes. In fact, we know the surplus to be $5 billion. Basically, they're taking this money, millions of dollars in premiums, and paying out almost nothing. And we know that affordable homes are desperately needed in cities across Canada. So what this bill does is further commercialize or privatize CMHC. That includes opening mortgage insurance business to even more private sector businesses. And the problem with this is that it cuts into the lucrative and desperately needed revenue stream for CMHC. This stands, even though they haven't been able to invest this revenue, it makes it almost impossible for them to gain any more future dollars. So the current amendments appear to seek to further privatize CMHC, and we have to oppose that. CMHC has been making a lot of money in recent years, and has been providing good service at a reasonable cost and every bit as efficient as the private sector. So there is no reason why CMHC should be squeezed out or forced to share this business at all. That's why we have to take that funds that are in CMHC and be able to use it to build more affordable housing. It's good for our economy, it's good for Canada. We know that we have to absolutely invest and be able to change the previous Liberal government and allow CMHC to invest a portion of its mortgage insurance earnings into building affordable homes. We heard earlier today that the affordable housing crisis is truly something that brings all our country together. We are in desperate situation. We absolutely have to build affordable housing. We are seeing increased homelessness, massive housing insecurity, and substandard housing, which in turn is leading a very heavy burden on individuals and massive disruptions of communities and local economies and increased costs of government. We have to, another point is that we have to look into small business lending. Let's look at service charges. Let's look at huge profitability and ask if it might be due. It's time to look at the concentration in the financial district, the district that as you know, grace my riding. And let's also look at employment. Let's look at the loan shops which are jumping up in poor neighborhoods. And let's look at all of this, Mr. Speaker. Let us address this act and give it a total overhaul for the good of my bank constituents, for the good of all Canadians, for the good of our country. We have an opportunity right now in C-37 to reform the Bank Act. Let's take this opportunity. Let's not just tinker with the Bank Act. Let us reshape it to reflect current realities and future opportunities right here, now in Canada. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Questions and comments? Questions et commentaires?